Om Shri Sairam, everyone, and welcome to Module 9, Sai Awareness in the Community. So to recap, we previously discussed kind of the purpose of what it means to be an office bearer. And the first point that we all came up with was to grow spiritually. The reason we are in this organization is to ultimately grow and further our progress on our spiritual paths, to serve his devotees. So Swami has many devotees across the world, and our duty is to serve them. And finally, to bring his message to the world as his instruments. We are his loving instruments. So we, as Swami's loving instruments, must bring his message of universal and divine love to the planet. So that is our goal and the purpose of being an office bearer. We're going to move on to a quotation from Swami, and this is from Satyasai Speaks, Volume 20, November 21st, 1987. And the quote goes, "It is better to be connected with only one and render effective service through it. All that has so far been achieved by Psi organizations is due to the unostentatious work of the active workers. I am well aware of your dedication and sacrifice in rendering service. I am quite content with such workers. There should be no differences among Psi workers on grounds of creed, caste, community, or nation. All religions are the same for them. The divine is omnipresent. It cannot be confined to picture or idol in a small shrine. You must dedicate yourselves to service with love, looking upon the divine as the embodiment of love." Again, from Satyasai Speaks, Volume 20, November 21st, 1987. So keeping this quote in mind, we're going to jump into our next segment here, which is rethink, reset our mindset. And how do we do this as office bearers, not only within the organization, but outside of the organization? Most of us have, family lives, school lives, work lives, whatever the case may be. And how do we kind of not only adjust and serve within our own organization, but how do we actually go a step further to the community at large? So, as office bearers, again, we're not just there to serve within the organization, but also have a responsibility that includes reaching out to the communities that we're a part of. And some of the examples here, at least in different wings, the service wing being service in the community, whether that's tree planting, sandwich drives, whatever the case may be. Education, bringing universal human values to the community. How do we bring forth that? How do we educate the community on EHV? Primarily, with everything going on in the world right now, how do we kind of bring that human value aspect to our community? Last portion is devotion, bringing multi-faith initiatives. So we're all comprised of multiple faiths with the unifying goal and the unifying message of love. So how can we bring everyone together in order to kind of move forward the best way possible? And lastly, keeping in mind that we're all part of the same body. We are all part of this world. Uh, Swami's loving children. So how can we bring forth, again, not only unity, but also participation from the communities? Your responsibility. So not only do we rethink and refresh our mindset, but in order to be refreshed, we need to be actually grateful for the opportunity to serve. Many of us have been serving in this organization for years. Uh, Sometimes the message or the feeling of serving might be lost, but always maintaining gratefulness, genuinely being grateful for the opportunity to serve, that goes a long way with not refreshing our mindset, helping us carry forward. With serving, there's always the good and the bad emotions that come with it. So we got to recognize mixed emotions that we might face throughout our periods of serving, throughout our leadership opportunities, throughout our community involvement. What we might face might be a mixed bag of emotions, but at the end of the day, we have a purpose that has been given to us by Swami. We are in the positions that we are because Swami wants us there. Kind of moving ahead with that mindset really helps propel us forward. applying lessons from learned that from the past. And how do we do that is, trying to avoid the same mistakes that we've made before, making sure that, we're inclusive. We are including those that may not have had the opportunity in the past. And we're just, swaying away from duplicating our mistakes, and also trying to duplicate our successes as well. If something's worked in the past, why fix something that's worked, right? So kind of keeping that in mind, we analyze and introspectively as leaders need to start to analyze current situations that we're in and how we can move forward in the best possible way. And none other than having the strong notion that Swami is always with us goes a long way in kind of refreshing our mindset and moving forward as leaders. The approach and mindset aspect, the resetting of or reset the thinking, we must always remember that the office bearer is there because of Swami, and we must never be of the opinion that we are in control or we are greater than others, or Swami put me here because I'm way more important than. If our spiritual ego or our ego gets in the way, we instead become two separate entities. The the divisiveness kind of separates us apart, and that is only there if ego is there. If ego is not there, we all are one, and we all serve together as one. So keeping that in mind, making sure that as office bearers, we don't get too ahead of ourselves. We stay humble, we stay focused on the goal, but ultimately we are serving Swami at the end of the day. So doing so in a very egoistic manner is a lose-lose, as some might say. Changing mindset towards innovation and collaboration. This is an interesting one where working together not only to find new ways to bring Swami's message to the devotees in public, but also trying to see how we can get the public engaged. With the pandemic and with, changing dynamics in the world, there's been, some folks that have maybe stayed away from the center, stayed away from volunteering opportunities, stayed away from activities. How do we get them engaged again? That is something that we really, as office bearers, really need to hone in on. And it's not so much the push idea versus the pull strategy. So those are the two last points there. Pushing our agenda, pushing ideas and concepts, and not identifying how we can actually engage the people, devotees, the public. That really doesn't lead to anything. There is no permanent solution that comes from pushing ideas rather than a collaborative effort in pulling. So pulling means, garnering ideas from all the different people, office bearers, office members, whether that's members in the center, office members in your offices, whatever the case may be. But as leaders, we really need to be collaborative in our approach to solutions. How can we kind of, consider everyone's thoughts while also working towards a common goal that everyone will back? Ultimately, in order to refresh mindset and try and move forward with an initiative, you need everyone to be on the same page. Whereas if it's just one person pushing an idea, it's really not, maybe a few might agree, but not everyone's going to agree. Continuing on with our approach and mindset aspect, from an organizational aspect, we're going to look at education, service, and devotion. So from an education standpoint, building SSE skills by training, kids in their mindset for self-confidence, righteous decision-making, and faith in God. Swami has mentioned many times the four-step path to self-realization, which starts with self-confidence, leads to self-satisfaction, leads to self-sacrifice, and ultimately self-realization. So starting that at a young age with SSE kids is vital. With service, serving with the mindset that addresses the needs of the center versus what we think they may need. For example, sandwich drive. Maybe the community that we're serving has enough sandwiches. Different example might be, clothing drive. If you're volunteering, somewhere in a hot, warm climate, do they really need winter clothing? Those types of small adjustments, small considerations is something that we as office bearers must consider. It's not so much what we think the community needs, it's identifying what the community needs and adapting our service initiatives towards that. The last portion here is devotion, looking at opportunities, and we touched on this earlier, for partnering and participating in multi-faith offerings. You know, whether that's with another community-based organization, religious organization, spiritual organization, whatever the case may be, is trying to find a common ground so that we can all come together and put our best foot forward, not only as an organization, but as a society in general. So, so finding topics, areas of need, working in multifaceted functions in the communities, and also including our neighbors. How often do we reach out to our neighbors and ask, are you interested in helping? Is there anything that we can help you with? So kind of realizing that as an office bearer, and not only as an office bearer, but as an organization, goes really a long way in kind of developing and refreshing a thought process and a mindset. And with that, we thank you all. There will be a few follow-up questions. So we thank you all for being a part of Module 9 and look forward to seeing you. Jai Saram.